Hello, everyone. I am Bhuvan Verma, hosting you in another session of STEM Talks with Leaders. By inculcating STEM education, we try to encourage practical learning and conceptual knowledge. Robo Shiksha Kendra, built across India with the help of our CSR partners, is an integral part of STEM education effort we are putting in. Through these institutions, we support students to progressively discover what is STEM way of thinking, how they can benefit from discovering what misconceptions exist and build on available technologies and design a future unimagined. The beauty of all of these theories that we try and put into place is that they are applicable to all, but not at all times. So STEM Talks with Leaders is aimed to share siloed information openly and hear from eminent leaders who have brought change and transformation in the world. Today, we have someone very special for you, Mr. Abhishek Singh, category head at Moshi, the communication company. Hello, Abhishek. How are you?
I'm great, Bhuvan. How are you doing?
Yeah, all great. Okay, so diving straight into my students' questions. My students are very curious to know, Abhishek, what are you tinkering with these days?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank STEM India Foundation and top of all you for giving me this opportunity to interact with the kids and the future generation of India. A lot of things behold them, and we are now old, we are grays, and I trust that the generation, forthcoming generation, is in good hands. Coming down to your question, what is tinkering me these days? There are two, three things. I would like to dive deep into data first because in innovation, you can't do anything without data. That is what I believe. So I'll dive down into some data. I have just noted down a few points here. So in 2011, 2.1% of India's population, that means 2.68 crore people were found disabled, right? In 2022, it was 13.4 million, right? That's a huge figure. So what I'm tinkering with is that, do we have something? Can we find something to help these people? That's my thought.
All right, excellent. Okay, so moving on to my next question from the students, can you tell our students how important is hands-on training for school students?
Okay, so we have been always, we belong to the 90s generation. So what we have been taught is based on content. We have been very bookish in our approach. When we joined organization, when we fell into the mainstream, what hit us was that where is the practical knowledge? And we have, trust me, we have learned it the hard way. We have been bashed upon, we have been, many times we have failed, and then we have learned. Hands-on experience for student is becomes very important because I have been involved with higher education kids quite a long time in my career. When these kids come to do their PG and all, I find that their basics is all gone. Basics hila hua hai. So what I particularly find is my suggestion would be hands-on training will definitely make a change when the students go for higher education or maybe in the jobs, because their basics are clear, and the basics can only be clear when you practice it. That's my take on why exactly we should go on doing hands-on training for school kids.
Absolutely, Abhishek. And this takes me to my next question also. From hands-on training, from learning by doing, people also, learn a lot of entrepreneurship. My students want to know from you, how does STEM education help students learn entrepreneurship?
Start with 4 or 5 things. So I've been working with a startup now. I've spent quite a long time in my career with education. I was working with a higher education group. With Moshi, I have been involved with a lot of startup Gen X kids, you can say now. What I particularly find is why exactly adapt entrepreneurship and STEM is interrelated. So first, for being a good entrepreneur, you require adaptability and flexibility, right? And when you practice STEM, right, you need to change your way of exactly practicing or maybe making an innovative change in your product or services that you're building. The second thing is you need to be persistent, right? You can't say that, okay, my way of doing things is maybe the wrong way because somebody is telling you that. An entrepreneur has to be very persistent and he has to believe in what he is trying to make, what he is trying to build. The third thing is, as I told in my talk in the very beginning, it has to be data driven. You can't make an innovation that is not going to serve any purpose. So it has to be data driven. The fourth thing is it has to be creative. It has to be very, very creative in nature, because entrepreneurship without creativity is of no use. There are a lot of people doing a lot of things, but unless and until you are creative in your approach, nobody is going to fund you. And the last thing is you have to be a team player. There are two type of entrepreneurs or innovators, right? One who built an aeroplane, and the second, he was very positive. Let's take this particular entire generation, fly above the sky. But there was one more type of entrepreneur who built the parachute, right? He was very pessimistic. What if this aeroplane crashes, right? But both were innovators, right? Both were entrepreneurs. So that's why STEM education is important. And this is how it is related to entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. So, students, I hope you are taking notes, a very comprehensive response from Abhishek ji about what is the importance of STEM education in entrepreneurship with an example. Thank you, Abhishek. Okay, to my next question to you from my students. Abhishek, my students want to know what is that hobby of yours that helps you build your problem solving stamina?
So I developed this hobby a bit late in my career, and I'm very regretful about it. I developed this hobby of reading autobiographies. That helped me a lot when it came to problem solving. I'll quote a small line from Eat, Pray, and Love, written by Liz Gilbert. So it says, I've come to believe in something I call the physics of quest, right? Why exactly physics and how exactly it is, related to quest? When you try to find out something, there is every human being goes through his own quest of life, right? How exactly physics is related to it? You dive down deep into what nature tells you. So it's like a kind of force of nature that are real as law of gravity. Every time the nature is trying to tell you something, the things around you are giving you a signal. They are trying to give you that particular positivity or telling you something, right? If you understand the physics behind it, you are a problem solver, right? Sometimes we ignore certain signs given by people around us, by the situation around us, by the forthcoming future. We are not ignorant about it, and that is where we fail, right? So this is one hobby I developed, reading autobiographies of people who have done things, who have done great things in their life, and that motivates and gives me a lot of motivation in my day-to-day life, and that helps me problem solve a lot of things. Adding to just one more thing, it is said that if you can't become big, right, at least follow the footstep of people who have become big. You will at least land somewhere. So that is what I'll suggest the children as well. Read some autobiographies. The best autobiography you can read, being a STEM follower or maybe an innovator, is The Wings of Fire by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. I mean, that's one autobiography I'll definitely suggest the kid to read. There's one more book I'll definitely suggest, is Tuesdays with Maury, right? Please read these two books. It is going to bring a great change in your life.
Absolutely. So, students, a super bonanza for all of you who are heading towards the Christmas break. Santa's bought presents and suggestions for some good and quick reading. Of course, Tuesdays with Morris is my favorite read as well. Students, I hope you will leave your reviews of these books in the comments below. Okay, moving on to their next question. Abhishek, my students want to know, in problem solving, they come together as teams. What are the must attributes of team players while they are working together?
Being a team player is something which I already mentioned as four things required to become a STEM practitioner and becoming an innovator. Having said that, when you are a team player, the biggest thing which I particularly feel, and people lack in that, big, very good leaders and big leaders have actually accepted that they lacked in that, and they have actually adopted to it quite late, and that is listening, right? So when you're a team player, you have to listen. You have to listen to people what they're telling you. I'm not telling that you have to follow everything that they tell you. There is a difference between listening and following. So you have to listen to people, to your person above you, to people who are working with you, and maybe people who are working as subordinates. Unless and until you listen to them, you will not be able to do certain great things. But yes, following is something that is your call, being a leader or maybe a part of the team. But listening is very important. So, children, listen to your parents. If you have something which you don't want to follow, give reasons, give logics, but don't just negate things. Ki main nahi sununga. Listen to your teachers. So that is what I'll suggest to the next generation.
Absolutely, students. There are two sides to a coin, and your inquisitive nature will open a wonderland of knowledge, things that you know and things that you don't know by inquiring these things from your parents, teachers, and so on. Wow, such a wonderful encouragement to my students, Abhishek. Thank you so much. Okay, moving on to their next question. My students are curious to know from you what is your favorite equation, formula, and quote, and why?
So I'll take a bit of a time here, maybe 5 seconds more to explain this entire thing. So I have been a science student till my 10th, and then I have been an art student in my graduation. So I'll mix science and arts here, right? Maybe history and science here. So my favorite, equation is E is equal to mc square. We all know who discovered it, right? The great Einstein, right? So I'll take you deep down into now history. So E is equal to mc square. Everybody knows it is equivalence of mass and energy. Mass can be converted into energy. Energy can be converted into mass. Einstein thought he has made a great discovery, right? But how exactly it was used? It was used by US to bomb Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? Einstein went into his grave, right, with that guilt that why he exactly discovered this particular formula. And he said, politics is for a moment, equation is for eternity, right? So now, even if you have that equation, you can build various things. In fact, the Big Bang theory that created the entire universe that we live in is actually derived from E is equal to mc square. That energy was converted into mass, and that is how Earth was formed. But how human used it was to bomb and kill a lot of people. One thing, in Japan, they don't put pictures of Einstein in their classroom. You know why? He is called as the scientific devil in Japan, right? So Einstein being such a great person, right? E is equal to mc square for me is an equation for life and death, right? So you as an innovator have to be a real good innovator, and you have to find a purpose why you are innovating it. Is it going to help people or is it going to destroy it, right? That's a thought I leave you children for with that when you are innovating something, you're following STEM, please keep that in the back of your mind, whether you are innovating something for giving life or for death.
Absolutely, absolutely. So students, giving a positive, outcome to the innovations that you are working in. Abhishek, thank you very much for such a detailed response on E is equal to mc square. Why is it your favorite equation? Okay, moving on to my next question. My students are curious to know, Abhishek, what is that one STEM innovation you want for your hometown?
Okay, so I have spent a lot of time in the cleanest city of India, Indore. So I have spent around 9, 10 years, and I have my own house as well there. What I particularly find, I take inspiration from that city, how exactly it has evolved and become the cleanest city of India. One thing I'd like to share here is that Indore has the biggest garbage treatment plant in India. Now what they are doing is, what in fact the government or the authorities are planning to do is keeping a garbage treatment plant in each house, maybe a small compost, right? But the problem is people don't know how to use compost efficiently. So can the young innovators find something that can be easy to use, that converts our garbage into energy, maybe provides an electricity to the entire house? So can we innovate something like this? And trust me, if you have something like this, I am telling you, I'll connect you with the mayor of Indore, and maybe you can practice it. That's my commitment to the children here.
All right. So to my next question to you, Abhishek ji, how do my students deal with failure or rejection? Because they are attempting many new things that even their parents or their forefathers have not imagined. They are in greenfield territory. How do they deal with failures and rejection?
Okay, so first and foremost thing, I like to break a myth here, right? We all know Edison failed more than 200 times, right, before inventing the bulb. I fail every day, right? We all fail every day. We either fail in front of someone, or maybe I fail sometimes my own son because I may not be able to give him time so that I can play cricket with him, right? Sometimes I fail my boss because I may not be able to deliver on the timeline, right? So we fail someone or something every day, right? So first and foremost thing, failure is part of life, right? It is a part of life. It's like the air we are breathing. How I deal with failures and rejection, I celebrate it, right? So whenever I fail in life, I make sure, in fact, maybe in a day of office when I am not able to meet deadlines, some presentation that went wrong, I go down, maybe I have a cup of coffee and I celebrate it with my friends. Because in that ways, I'll remember my failure throughout my life and I'll not commit it again. Years ago, my boss told me, when you fail, go ahead and celebrate it. You will remember it, never fail again.
Wow, fantastic. So, students, I hope you have gained your moment of meaning. We thank you, Abhishek Singh, for sharing such valuable ideas and sharing the way forward to help our students appreciate the emerging trend of STEM and STEAM way of thinking. Today, we learned that a fit person is not content just with existence, but requires exploration and doing something that is meaningful for the entire society. The ideas pursued at Robo Shiksha Kendra are innovative, dynamic, and establish self motivation among students and enthusiasts. Robo Shiksha Kendra facilitators motivate students to learn through their mistakes, build their future, and achieve the unlimited. They train students with tools, technology, temperament, and umpteen opportunity to grow and develop using STEM way of thinking. The STEM leaders help us, our students, realize our destiny and can do anything attitude with us. We thank our viewers for sharing this video with their parents and peers. Until next time, namaste.